Hey everybody, my name is Bailey Morrison, and today I'll be responding to the Padlet discussion for Module 1. Just going through the different myths and theories, patterns, so and so. So the myth that I chose to talk about is the fact that people marry because of love. This is not something that I've ever just consciously thought about. I guess because I've not really been to the age of being married. Me personally, it was like, I was going through high school, and then my first year of college, I got pregnant. I had been with the guy for 5 years, so we had already thought about getting married, but just the fact that we were so young, we never like fully entertained it. It was just something that we talked about. So it was never something that was in the forefront of my mind to, really just consider. But I did just assume that, yeah, you married somebody because you loved them, but it does make sense after reading the chapter that usually it's more out of expectations and pressure that either your family's put on you or social media is put on you. Like, you're seeing everybody else has a similar situation that's your age and they're getting married, but usually what you feel isn't love. According to the book, it's usually a mixture of sex drive, fear, or hunger for approval. And I definitely can understand that. But like I said, in my situation, it was a little bit different, more unconventional. And I was definitely living the married life before I got married. The wedding was just kind of a celebration. We were already living as though we were married. So it wasn't much of a difference. In my opinion, it is different for everybody. I understand that. But the second thing I wanted to talk about for the patterns, I chose unmarried births. Like I said, I had a baby before I was married. And I'm definitely not surprised at the fact that that number is increasing because I see it more and more every day. I mean, there was a handful of girls my age that I was in the area with that also got pregnant around the time I did. But I didn't really realize the statistics of it. I didn't realize that most women with unmarried births, I didn't realize that the most of those women are black because in my area, it was all white girls. And I'm not surprised with the least amount being Asian. I've never seen an Asian teen mom, which I understand that not all unmarried births are teen moms. I'm just talking from my situation specifically. But like I said, in my area, it's mostly white girls. But there are a lot of, I would say it's not 100% 50-50 black and white here. But it's not, it's a lot more integrated here than it is in other places. Moving on to the theory that I chose the systems theory because from my understanding, it's how you work together. You and your spouse, and if you have children, you all work together as a unit. Decisions are made together. It's not, well, sorry, the video cut out. It's wife and husband together making a united decision. And I would definitely say that is something that we had to do with our marriage because I did not come from the best household. My mom was an addict. My dad wasn't he was in a different house. I visited him. He wasn't my sole parent. My mom was the main parent. So after, having our son, we had to come together, get boundaries as husband and wife to present to our family as a united front. And I would say in our situation, we do have a subgroup, not just as our son, but my two sisters. I have joint custody of my middle sister. She comes here on the weekends, every other weekend from her dad's house. And my youngest sister, who I financially support a good bit of the time. It's just a very odd situation. But anyway, I would say those are our subgroups. But moving on to the last topic of talking about the different TV shows, I 100% noticed the difference between in the beginning talking about the 50s and 60s shows to the more modern shows. In the beginning, it showed usually a man and a woman household with kids, usually multiple kids. I feel like now if you were to see, like back then, it would be big families because the man and the woman had a big family together. Now, if a man and a woman were to have a big family, most likely it would be they had kids from previous marriages and it's a step integrated family. But two things that stuck out to me, two quotes that stuck out to me about the shows from the 50s and 60s was the first quote being from a son talking to his mom saying they don't have to be smart, implying he's talking about a woman here, talking about women don't have to be smart, they have it easier. And then the second was a son talking to his father, asking why the mom cooked inside and he cooked outside, why it was always that way, how it was just understood to be that way. And the father replied by saying, women's place is inside, so it might as well be in the kitchen. I think that is an outdated way of thinking. I think some people think that way, but as a whole, I think it's outdated. Moving on to the 70s through 90s, it's much more diverse. Like, for example, or a much more diverse way of thinking. They're introducing new ideas that wouldn't be in the older things. Like, for example, there's no mom in the show of Andy Griffith, and I think Andy Griffith is a very popular show. At least it was with my family. I mean, my granddad, my father-in-law watch it just about every day. The Jeffersons was a very popular show. It was one of the longest shows running for a long time, and it was about African Americans. And, you know, that wasn't always a big thing. They always put white people on the forefront of television. So that, I think that was a big change. And then the most modern show that it showed on there was Modern Family, with you know, some of the main characters being a dad and a dad with a kid. And like I said, that's just kind of a newer thing. It would have never been the traditional thinking type of way.